Today we're diving into the exact point where classic heavy metal AV meets modern IT infrastructure.
Right, the convergence. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing a deep dive based on specs and distributor notes from HDTV Supply for a very specific piece of gear. It's the Just Add Power VBS-HDIP-717WP2.
It is a 3G plus wall plate transmitter. Quite a mouthful.
It is. But our mission today is to figure out how this little device solves that last mile problem. Getting 4K video from a standard wall outlet onto a network without needing a massive rack of support gear right in the room.
Which really comes down to killing the old matrix switch.
Exactly.
Moving away from those dedicated point-to-point video cables and just treating video strictly as data on a standard network.
And physically looking at it, they've crammed a lot into a really tight space.
Yeah.
This whole thing fits into a standard 2-gain construction box.
Right, a clean wall plate instead of a loose box.
Yeah, my first thought, though, when I see a 4K encoder this small is thermal management. You're basically burying a computer inside a wall.
That is definitely the engineering challenge. But the benefit is both aesthetic and functional. You don't have a box zip-tied behind a TV.
Or sitting in the middle of a conference table.
Right, it just is the wall plate. And because it's part of the Just Add Power 3G ecosystem, it mixes seamlessly with their rack mount gear.
So you aren't locked into using wall plates everywhere.
Exactly. You mix and match to distribute any source to any zone.
Let's talk about the inputs, the I/O. Because the spec sheet actually surprised me a bit. It has the HDMI input you'd expect for up to 4K, but it also sports a VGA input and a standard 3.5mm audio jack.
Yeah, the legacy stuff.
Why are we still wasting board space on VGA in the mid-2020s?
I mean, it does seem archaic at first glance, but think about the alternative. If you have a client with older laptops or maybe a legacy document camera,
you'd usually need a separate scaler in the server rack.
Right, you'd have to convert that analog signal to digital before it even hits the switch.
So this wall plate is doing the scaling locally.
Exactly, it acts as a bridge. Digitizes that messy analog signal right at the wall, so you aren't cluttering the rack or buying expensive external scaling receivers.
It standardizes everything to IP packets before the signal even leaves the room.
Yeah, which saves a significant amount of rack space.
So once that video is packetized, it's just writing a standard Cat5e cable. But we need to look at the latency specs.
Because AV over IP is not HD-based E.
Right. I think there's a misconception there. They are different animals.
Very different. This specific device quotes an ultra-low latency of 23 milliseconds.
Which, to be clear to you listening, is not instant in the strict physics sense. HDBaseT is microseconds.
Right. 23 milliseconds is roughly 1.5 frames of video at 60 hertz.
So if you're doing ultra-competitive esports gaming, you might feel it.
Maybe, yeah. But for a conference room presentation or digital signage or even just watching a movie with high-end audio...
Which it supports, by the way, Dolby Atmos and DTS:X.
Right. For all of that, the delay is visually imperceptible. You're trading that microscopic bit of time for massive flexibility.
Routing that signal anywhere on the LAN.
Exactly.
And power delivery is simplified too. It draws 10 watts via PoE, power over Ethernet.
Which means the wall plate gets its power straight from the network switch.
No fishing for high voltage lines inside the wall or dealing with clunky power supplies at the outlet.
Right. The network switch handles both power and data.
Now, looking at the distributor notes from HDTV Supply.
A 25-year veteran in the AV space, by the way.
Right. I noticed their pricing is completely obscured. You actually have to log in or call 833-WOLFPACK to get the special price.
The hidden price policy.
Yeah, usually that annoys me, but here it signals something specific about the business model, right?
It means this is strictly integrator-focused gear. Those hidden prices protects the margins of the installers.
Because if an end user can just Google the lowest price, the installer loses their markup.
Exactly. Just Add Power prohibits showing prices online to support the people actually installing their systems.
It keeps the whole ecosystem professional, and they back it up with a 3-year Just Add Power warranty.
Which is solid for active hardware running 200/7.
So to pull this all together, the 717WP2 is a bridge. It takes messy, complex inputs like VGA and 4K HDMI and turns them into clean, manageable network traffic right at the outlet.
It decentralizes the complexities so the network just sees data.
Which makes me wonder about the ultimate trajectory of all this. As AV distribution moves entirely to IP networks, are we watching the slow death of the dedicated video cable? Will we eventually reach a point where the HDMI cable is entirely obsolete and you just plug your laptop directly into a standard network jack for absolutely everything?
We were already halfway there with USB-C. It definitely feels like the days of the dedicated video cable are numbered.
Something to think about next time you're wrestling with a tangle of cords behind a screen. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.